All right, welcome along to From Zero to Hero using Visual Studio Team Services. My name's Anthony Borton. I'll be hopefully entertaining and educating you for the next 60 minutes. And I'm sure that if that's not the case, it's sort of backs onto lunch, so you'll just wander on out. I'll get the message loud and clear. It's my first opportunity to come and visit Norway, and of course my first NDC conference, so a little bit daunted, but looks like an awesome conference out there. So there's a lot of other conferences I think could learn a thing or two from these guys. So I'm a Microsoft Visual Studio ALM MVP, sorry, old name, Visual Studio and Development Technologies MVP. I think this has been my 11th year now. I've been a Microsoft Certified Trainer since '96 and a Microsoft Certified Professional since '93. Who's done a Microsoft exam? This is awesome. So there's got to be 90%. Keep your hands up. Come on, you've got to work for this. Keep your hands up if you've done more than 5. 10, 15. Give me a wave. Who's still playing? Oh dear. Okay, so you guys gave up really, really quickly and early. And that's great because it means you've got interesting hobbies and interests. So, yeah. So for me, that's 60 exams so far. Yes, that's very few hobbies and interests, and now I'm feeling really bad about it. You can see by the .au there, I'm part of the Australian contingent. We seem to love coming over here, so I notice you've got quite a few Aussies on the speaking roster, so hopefully you're being entertained. I'm a Visual Studio ALM Ranger. Got my little Ranger shirt on today as well. Professional Scrum Master, Professional Scrum Developer Trainer, way back when. So I'm from a little country called Australia. Kind of really isn't that little when you look at it like that. And notice that, you wouldn't even notice, the shape's a little distorted, but that's to try and get the size perspective correct. So this was this little infographic that I bought the other day, and what it shows us is every road and track in Australia, and it's actually quite accurate. You can zoom all the way in. And I decided to throw that up there to show you that we all live on one side, and then you've got the people that do the mining on the other side, and in the middle's not much, except for desert. But come and visit the middle. It's great. They love the tourists. So that's the geographic distribution. That's the backyard. So you've got the kookaburra there, and then in the middle, the rainbow lorikeets. That's a 3D printed custom little feeder that I printed for my wife. That's her hand there holding the bottom of the tray to feed them. And that's Kitty looking on, making sure they all behave. Most of the pets and the visitors in the yard are welcome, most of them, but we do have the occasional visitor that's not. Most things seem to bite you and kill you down there. I'm not really doing tourism in the world of good for my country. But that fellow was sitting in the tree probably about 3 meters from the back door. My wife calls him Boots, because if he misbehaves and plays badly with the other pets, he gets turned into a pair of boots. We also have other interesting signs that you don't seem to see too many other places when you travel. This kind of works. Beware dogs has nothing on this sign. Beware snakes seems to be a lot more effective in keeping unwanted people out. So, I haven't. Any good snakes here in Norway? No? I'll bring some over next year. We could start some biodiversity studies in, and don't try and pat them. My wife was talking to Boots, and I swear any second she was going to pat it. That one wasn't poisonous, but a good bite, a bit of bacteria, and it's not going to be a pleasant day for you. Anyway, that's enough about me. The opening premise of my talk here this morning is how things work. You get a great application idea, and then you retire and live an awesome lifestyle. That's how it works, isn't it? Great idea, retire rich. It's worked for a lot of people, just not me yet. So somewhere between the great application idea, whether it's ours or someone else's, and this awesome lifestyle at the end, there's things in between. And it's the in-betweens, the details that always get in the way of us and retiring on the beach. And some of the things that we need to set up there, we need, of course, to be able to get our requirements, get the requirements recorded somewhere. We need to be able to develop the solution, write the wonderful application. How many people are just developers? I shouldn't say just developers, but we're at a developers conference, so I expected to see some good action there. That's great. We want to build the solution. We want to be able to test the solution. We've got to be able to release the solution as well, monitor the application. Whoa, there seems to be a lot of things between that great idea and our retirement. In order to make all of that work, we need some scaffolding. Now, how do we set up an environment where we can turn our ideas into, these things that are going to make us rich and happy? As an example here, we've set up our application and data tier servers. We've got to set up our build infrastructure, whether that's from Microsoft as a vendor or any other vendor. It doesn't matter. It's still an environment to be set up, managed and maintained. We have multiple environments for test. If you think about it, of all of the machines, the servers that we buy, the tax that we pay, and by tax, that's the costs of having them in our data centers. When you think that well under 50% of those are there for production use. Okay, just think of that number. So 50% or more are not directly for production. They're for our application testing. That's not a bad story if we were doing a talk on Azure Dev Test Labs. That's a different talk, one that we won't do today. And then, of course, you've got the production environment as well to consider. So between the beginning and the end, there's lots of things to do. So the purpose of my talk is really about how can we set up an environment to deal with that scaffolding. Just one way. What I'm going to talk about, as you will have seen from the title of the session, is Visual Studio Team Services. How many people are using VSTS already? Wow, that is awesome. That's probably 80% or more. All right, we've got some competition. Maestro, volume. All right, so that's awesome. So in that particular case, then, we'll probably try and touch lightly on a few of the simpler topics, and I'll see if I can throw a few extras in for you. Now, by dealing with that scaffolding, having that set up for us, using it out of the box, so to speak, we can save a lot of time, and of course, saving money for us. So that's my agenda. What can we do to deal with those things using VSTS? All right. So in terms of getting started, 80% of you probably already know that you can go to visualstudio.com. You can sign up for a free account, or it's free for up to 5 users of VSTS. And all you need to do that is a Microsoft account, okay, or an MSA. How do you get those? Well, I'd suggest everyone in the room already has one probably. They were Hotmail accounts, Outlook accounts, Live IDs, passports, .NET something or others. They've had interesting names over the years. What did I leave out? I think I've got most of them. So if you haven't got one, you can sign up for a free Outlook.com email, and suddenly you've got an MSA which lets you go over here to sign up. It's really that easy. Something I'll often do, I'm a trainer by trade, so something I'll often do with TFS courses is also to encourage people to simply go and sign up for VSTS to see what's coming, what's going to be in the next update for VSTS. Isn't that a whole lot of fun when the tool you're using gets updated every 3 weeks? It's like Christmas every 3 weeks, yeah? Not as enthusiastic about that, are you? All right. You try training it. You try developing courseware with lots of slides and screenshots, and then Microsoft go, yay, new navigation. And you're going, yay, 2,000 screenshots to redo. Yeah, not as enthusiastic or exciting for me, I can tell you. But we can certainly get set up quickly and easily. We then want to start by initiating our first project. We're going to go ahead and create a new project, and as per the session title, we want to go from zero. Maybe not 100% zero, so I've already got my account set up, but I will start by creating a brand new empty team project. We want to choose our process, we want to choose our version control provider, get a team set up some iterations, so we'll do those things reasonably quickly there. All right, so let's go across to VSTS. So that is a new navigation. Let's zoom that in a little bit more for people. That should be okay up the back there. Some thumbs up. Alrighty, thanks. All right, so I'm going to create a new team project. That particular team project I think we should call, go internet. I did a talk like this at, it was TechEd back then, so TechEd New Zealand when the conference centre had an internet outage. It's like, yeah, really not such an exciting presentation without the internet. Or a really slow internet. Strange. In 2 or 3 rehearsals this morning, that normally happens very, very quickly. What?
Are you on the Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi. Is there a wide connection up here? Wide network? Nope. All right. So, some good jokes. Just
Everybody turn off Wi-Fi.
that's right. That's right. That's really going to slow us down quite considerably. No really other option there. Okay, from zero to hopefully somewhere in 60 minutes is the new title of the talk. All right, so let's go with NDC Oslo 2017 will be our team project name, and wow, that's the start of my typing prowess. NDC rocks. That's a good description for our project. We'll choose Git. So you can have centralized or decentralized or distributed version control there. We'll run with Git. In terms of the process template, I'll choose Agile. One of the really exciting things there with VSTS is the fact that we can have inherited process templates now. For anyone that started with TFS, who's ever done process template customization on TFS? Yeah, not fun at all. So that whole thing changes with VSTS. For a long time, you couldn't customize. In fact, I should be doing things in case the internet plays up again. So I'll go ahead and just choose Agile for my demonstration. And you'll see there was an inherited customized one there I could have used. And I'll say create. That's going to go and quickly create that team project for me. To finish my other point, the template customization experience in VSTS is just worlds apart from what that TFS experience, handcrafting XML files is all about. Now it's a really nice web-based experience, dragging fields around. So, those days hopefully long behind us. Okay, so I'll go ahead here and, so we've got a new project landing page there. I'll make it a favorite. So in the new navigation experience, it's all about you. So you can have your favorite build, your favorite project, your favorite queries, and a landing page that shows you just those things. So we'll favorite that. I'll go down here and say, just initialize here. Got a moment to initialize. And while we wait for that, another little ad hoc survey, because I love collecting information for my training. So between, say, the two version control providers you see there, so TFVC for centralized, Git for distributed, who's using TFVC? Okay, and Git, so probably 2/3 Git compared to TFVC? Okay. So that's gone ahead and done that for us. The option here to create a CI build, we haven't got any code yet. I'll just hide that one away. I'll choose edit here, switch back, grab some custom markdown there. And yeah, you don't want to watch me type that. We'll replace the default placeholder text with my placeholder text and commit that. And we want to go ahead and start configuring our team. So you'll see up there, it's got me there. So I'll go ahead and add another team member. Maybe just one team member today. Remember this for tomorrow. All right, seriously, maybe just one team member. So normally I'd go in there and choose to add a couple of team members just to show that very simple experience. It's not worth the wait, trust me. And that's good. It shouldn't be a complex or difficult thing. So just imagine we've gone and... See, I was going to add my wife. It would have made her feel warm and fuzzy to be included in a presentation, and now she won't be happy with me. That's all right. All right, back over there. So, the next thing we want to do is let's start with our requirements. So we want to get our requirements recorded into VSTS. We'll start by putting in our PBIs. We can set up portfolio backlogs. If you haven't already seen it, we might have and if the internet's being nice, we might have a very quick little look at some customization, very, very quick. You'll see the work item forms. Now, given how many of you are already using VSTS, those work item forms aren't new to you. For people that are using on-premises TFS, there's still a few. Depending on whether you've moved from 2015 over to 2017 yet, you might see that those work item forms have changed, the appearance of them. All of the fields are still there. It's just a process of retraining the muscle memory. Fields in slightly different places for us. On the upside of it, it's far more usable, far more functional. And also, we've got things like it's now going to be mobile aware and reactive, responsive. So with different sized devices and screens, it's a much better story than what we've had in the past. So let's see how the web's going to behave for us now. So I'll go across here and say that we want to start adding some work. Okay, the redesigned landing page makes that a little quicker and easier. And it takes us into our Kanban board. They've made some good improvements and customizations to this one. We'll go to the backlog. And we can just start by adding in our user stories. And I'll do that very, very quickly. So let's accept Visa as payment for items in the cart. We'll borrow a bit of that. Accept MasterCard. Accept, let's go with Bitcoin just to mix it up a little bit. So, I mean, we can dump down our ideas quickly and easily, create our user stories, create the backlog, drag and drop reprioritization, all fairly standard things. We can go in and have a look at these. And for the TFS previous version users, I could have said that better, you'll notice maybe for the first time that form's a little bit different from what you're used to. Okay? It is a lot better for us. Straight away up the top here, the titles there, we had tags at the top of the work item form before. Why were tags the most important thing? Well, the answer is they weren't. It was just an implementation convenience to get those tags added in there for us. The other thing that there's so many little trivial things here. I'm not going to go through all of them. One of my favorites, this little seemingly innocuous thing at the top there. So if we were going to have a discussion, a conversation about this particular user story, with the previous work item form, you'd go down to the history in the bottom right-hand corner, you'd have to scroll down there, you'd click discussion, you'd go and start typing things. And you might say, why are we doing it this way? And if you were lucky, someone would go down and see that and answer it. But how many people really went wandering into that particular corner just in case there was a conversation? It wasn't very usable. So here, if we go down and start a discussion, I'm going to leave the typos there. And we'll go back in there. That simple little indicator to say there's more information here, a quick link on that hyperlink to take us down to see the discussion points. Okay. A trivial thing, but it does make it a whole lot more usable compared to what we had before. There are lots of other examples there that I'm not going to go through with you. Up here, just this little follow button is another great example. So I have a particular vested interest in this requirement. So a single click here sets up a notification subscription for me. So if anything changes about this particular work item, I'm going to be notified via an email. And then when I'm done with it, I don't need to know anymore. It's just as easy to click and unfollow the work item. This is how it should be, these little single click experiences. If you compare that to going and setting up alerts in previous versions, it was a lot more than just that convenient click experience. So they've done some really good things here. I'll close out of that one. Sometimes we'll start with our stakeholders talking about the individual things that they want. Sometimes they'll look at the big picture first. Doesn't matter, we'll go into our features. And as a feature, I might say we want to accept all common online payment methods. Okay, so the bigger picture side of things, we'll go back to stories, and with a simple mapping, I can then set up the bidirectional links between those. So a simple drag and drop there sets up the parent-child relationship between them. If I then turn that mapping off, say show parents, you start to see what looks like a more traditional work breakdown structure there. We could have started with the features first and decomposed it, or you can go the other way. It's entirely up to the product owner or whoever's putting these requirements into the system for you. Okay. I said I was going to talk about some customization, so if I go into the user story, let's have a look at this drop-down menu over here. There's some interesting things in the drop-down menu. I will see if we get time to talk briefly about the marketplace and some extensions that springs into mind. So if I go and grab, say, we'll start with the feature, and let's choose to visualize it. So this was an extension created by the Visual Studio ALM ranges, available from the marketplace. And what that allows me to do is to simply visualize those work items. Has anyone installed that extension? No? Thank you, Martin. All right. Ooh, was that another hand? No, I got my hopes up. Okay. So, guys, when I show you the marketplace, this one's really cool. So I can easily go in there, look at these relationships. I can say show work items only or show work items with changes and files. We've not checked in any files yet, but it could then drill right down to files. I can set little comments on there, little annotations. Check this with Bob. Some other text there, small. Yeah, let's make it small. And the shape is going to be a red arrow. Red arrows are important. And then I can go and link that to a particular work item or file here, annotate it, save it out as an image if I want to do that. I can save this so we can easily get back into it again. So some people find that really, really helpful. Okay, so let's jump back out of there. But the one that I wanted to show you that started it was that little customize button there. Okay, for those of you that have done customization using TFS with the XML files, this is just so much easier. Okay. I can select an existing process template there. Okay. I can say, I want to create a new field, please. Here are some options for it, the layout, where I want it to appear. I'm not going to go through the finer points. I'm not here to sort of teach you that, but just show you that, wow, it is so much nicer than what we've had before with TFS. So well worth a little bit of a look around, and the fact that you can do those inherited templates is really, really nice. Okay, but we won't be looking at that today. So I've got the requirements in there. Go back to there. All right. Something else that jumps out as this. So I'll also talk under work items. There's another one there that shows dependencies. That's another extension. And I'll sort of just mention the extensions as we go, and then I'll show you where you can find them and a little bit more information about them at the end. The extensions come from the marketplace. There's really a great range of extensions there to add little capabilities, little bits of polish into the product to solve particular challenges. Whether you want to consider creating those extensions yourselves, putting them on the marketplace to help others, whether you just want to be able to consume those to make the product, do those extra things that you really, really need it to do. Well, works for any of those. Work items. What else grabs me there? The notification experience. So previously that was setting up alerts, so project alerts. Just while I'm here, I can go up here and say I want to look at my notifications. So our notification experience has been significantly improved. You'll see here that I can simply turn those notifications on or off. For those people that have been using either TFS or VSTS for a while, we've wanted that. When we set up our alerts, as they were called, I can say, send me an alert if this build breaks. Send me an alert if anyone checks into this particular branch. Send me an alert if we get a priority 1 bug. But what if you didn't want those for a little while? There was no easy way to simply turn those off. There were workarounds, but that's a little bit different. The experience of going in and creating those is a lot better. The small screens, not so much. Top right, there it is. Okay, so if you wanted to be notified when something happened, I can say, let's go into work items. When a work item is created, click next. Okay, so it's still a very similar experience. It's just, the polish that's been applied there makes working with these notifications so much better. I won't bother saving them. Get out of there. Okay. Let's go back over here. Okay, so we've got our backlog started. The next thing we want to do in terms of setting up, or what the scaffolding can do for us, is we want to start our development. So, of course, we get enterprise class version control, whether you're using centralized or distributed version control, really doesn't matter. There's great integration between work items and source control, that ability for traceability. That's one of the big things in the classroom when I'm teaching people that are using this for the first time, particularly with an audience of developers, telling people they've got to create tasks, telling people that they really want to link their commits or their check-ins to those tasks for traceability is often a hard sell. Because, a lot of the developers I work with, the best thing you can do for them is leave them alone and let them develop. That's their passion, their enthusiasm. So when you tell them they've got to go and create tasks and work items and account's a terrible word to use. They've got to plan that work out and then link back to it, sell them on the traceability story. It's a challenge to start with, but then when they see that flow through to the builds, the releases, to QA, the benefits to themselves, using annotate or blame to be able to see who changed a line of code, when they changed it, why did they change it, and to link that back. To go from this feature and track it down to every line of code that was written or changed to deliver that feature. Or conversely, here's a line, why is it here? That's a heck of a lot of value. So what we want to do is go and get started with some version control. So I'll go over here and we're going to jump into Visual Studio. I'll go and connect to that particular new project we've created. Fascinating. All right, let's connect to that one. Yes, way too many accounts and projects, you can tell. Okay, I'll go ahead and choose to run that repository. Great. And be patient and wait for it, otherwise that's going to come back and hurt me. All right, excellent. The next thing I want to do is to go and create a solution. In terms of what I want to show you here, we're not going to write code. I'm not going to change the font for the code editor window in Visual Studio. We're just going to choose a very stock standard Windows.NET web application. Again, we're not here to sort of write applications, so I'll just use a simple template. I'll go down here and give it a name, so we'll call it NDC Web. The rest of that looks fine. And we'll say OK. That's concerning me just a wee little bit in the background. I'll make it just simple web forms. It really doesn't matter. Given time, you notice that I chose not to go and add a unit testing project there. With a little bit more time, it would have been nice to sort of throw some unit testing in there to see that it happen automatically in the build, to show the testing side of the story, but I think time's going to beat me there. So I'll skip that one. And hopefully that shouldn't take more than a moment. Okay. I figure if you close the message, then that can't be bad, right? Can't see the error, it's not an error. Famous last words. I shouldn't poke the demo gods by saying things like that, but I just never seem to learn. Okay, so I've gone ahead and created that simple solution there. Okay, that looks okay to me. Go back over here, let's look at our changes. Initial load of simple website. Go. All right, excellent. And we'll just push that up. So getting our code, whether you're starting with a new project, whether you're coming from an alternate source control provider, when I look at the audience and I see smiling people, it usually means I've done something really foolish. Okay, they've stopped smiling. Okay. And nearly done, nearly done. So regardless of how you manage to get that source in there, where the source comes from, really doesn't make a lot of difference there. I've just created a very simple template. My intention is, by the end of our session today, is to have that running up on Azure, fully tested with full CI/CD pipelines in place and running, and we're already halfway through. So that should be fun, assuming our internet's going to play along. Okay. Excellent. We should make a really simple change to that, so let's go and find default ASPX. And let's just change that default heading there to NDC rocks. Save that. Message. Okay, anything from the source side. You notice that I didn't choose to link that back to any tasks. If we had more time there, I would have gone along and had a look at decomposing the requirements into the tasks. We could have then linked those commits to the appropriate tasks along the way. A lot of you are already using the tool, and I'm assuming that you're doing that at minimum. So I've taken some shortcuts there. All right, so I've got our source code in. The next thing I want to talk about is setting up a CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous delivery or deployment to get the application up to Azure. Okay. As far as the automated build goes, we want to set up an automated build. And while my application is a very simple C# web application, one of the key things about VSTS is that it's basically any language, any platform. If you've seen any other talks talking about this, if you've seen any of Microsoft's marketing, these are big messages for the last little while. Again, any platform, any language. So while I choose to stick with my comfort zone, which of course is .NET, that's certainly not in any way a limitation of the tooling that you see here. In setting up a CI/CD pipeline, there's multiple ways we can do this. I can go across into the Azure portal and use an experience there to get the source and to set up that pipeline. I can go into the web UI and I can create the pipeline from there. I can do it from Visual Studio and I can use other tools to do it. So there's lots of different ways. I'm just going to choose to show a very convenient and a quick way to help us get started, to try and get that idea to retirement happening far more quickly. So I'm going to use the continuous delivery tools for Visual Studio. It is an add-in. It's not something that's out of the box for us. I have already put it into my Visual Studio, so let's have a look. So if I go across to Visual Studio, I go up to Tools, Extensions and Updates. Come on, there we go. I'd normally click on Online here. I'm mindful I'm not going to do that and make it go to the internet right now. So I'd normally click on Online, go up here to Search, and I'd simply type the word continuous. That's going to refine what options are available for me, and the one that I'm looking for is already installed. It's the one at the top there, the continuous delivery tools for Visual Studio. Okay, so just calling that one out as something I have added in there. I'll click Close here. Now the benefit of having that, or the feature that it provides for me, is when I go up to my solution, I can right-click on that solution and choose to configure continuous delivery. Okay, that's where that menu item comes from. So if you don't see it, you know exactly what the reason is. I'll select continuous delivery, and it's going to say, okay, there's the repository we want to use. We'll go from the master branch. I'll choose the particular subscription. So if you've got multiple Azure subscriptions, choose the one that you want to use. I'm going to create a new app service, but I can choose to go in there and change some of those values. I'm going to choose to send this up and just use a standard Azure website. I can go in and choose other sizes of that if that's what I wanted to do. I could also go in there and use Azure Resource Management or Manager. I can go and set up some templates. There's a lot more capability that I won't drill into in this walkthrough. I'll hit cancel there and say, well, they're pretty good options. And I'll click on OK. So right now, what it's doing is it's going to go and create that CI/CD pipeline for me. It's going to take me generally a lot longer to talk about it than it will take to actually do the job here. So it is going and creating a build for me that's using the hosted build provided up in VSTS. It's going to create that build definition. It's going to use the standard templates to do that for me. So it will look for and automatically execute unit tests that it finds. It's going to go and create a release definition for me. It's going to go and set up the release pipeline. I shouldn't really call it much of a pipeline because there is going to be one task in there. That's all we need to deploy a web application this web application up to Azure. Let's be very clear. They can get a lot more involved. If we look down there now, it's looking a little bit better. Okay, creating the build and release definitions. So it is going to have to go up to Azure and do some work there. So that might be a little bit more temperamental with our internet. But hopefully not too time consuming. Who's used this tool, by the way? It's been around for a little while now. So continuous delivery tools. Yep, just me. Oh yes, Martin, you're joined by someone else. Awesome. I saw at least one other hand. And it was just one other hand. Okay, so hopefully you'll all go and download it and have a look at it. I think it's pretty cool. There it is, done. Okay, so I really didn't do a lot of work. Let's see what it's done for us. Okay, so if we switch back over to the web UI, I'll go in and say, show me my builds. And you'll see that we've got a build there, and right this moment, it's currently in progress. So not only does it create the build definition, create the release definition, set up the Azure resources we need, it then goes and triggers that process for us. So right now that build's in progress. We can prove it if it's still going. I'll click in there and have a look. And it's succeeded, so it has finished. Given a little bit more time, 60 minutes is a bit of a squeeze, we could have gone and created some tests there. We could have set up some code coverage results and metrics. We could have seen a lot more information on the screen here. But so far, so good. The build's happened. That should have then automatically triggered for us the release. So let's move across and have a look at the release definition. Okay, so right now that's in progress. So it's built the release definition for me, and it's currently deploying that very, very simple web application live up to Azure. We didn't, to the best of my knowledge, go in and have a look at the Azure portal at all. I set up nothing there other than choosing my subscription and the size of the Azure website resource that I wanted to use. Okay. Now, to be clear, I could have done this manually. I could have done this by going across and using the Azure portal as an alternative way of doing this. Okay, let's see what that's done for us. And with any luck, our deployment has succeeded. So if I remember what I called the website, NDC Web, if my guess is going to work, it's going to be ndcweb.azurewebsites.net. And it's really going to help if I don't make typos on this example. And you got it wrong. Okay, what did I call it? Could be that one there that I needed to grab. That's looking a little bit better. Hopefully. Go into it. Curious. Okay. No matter how many times you rehearse something, you know if it's ever going to go wrong, you'll be standing up here when that happens. Sorry? No blister. Hey, that's not my site. Woohoo! It wasn't my error. All right. What exactly did I deploy? I've got to remember the name. Yeah, I probably should have paid more attention to some resources before I went and used some names. Okay, so let's hide the evidence, as we'll now call it. So, with a little bit of entertainment thrown in there unintentionally, I've used that to go and create the build and release pipelines. Let's take a moment to have a look at those. So if I go over here, yep, leave it, hide it, go away. Let's see what it's done for us. I'll choose that particular build. Let's have a look at the build definition. And in a moment, you'll see that we've got the standard build steps shown. Okay, so it's gone and created this for us. We are using the latest in terms of the editor experience. So up here, we've got our get sources. Notice that we're pulling our sources from this project. We could easily pull from GitHub, remote repo, Subversion. Okay. We've got a NuGet restore there. Another semi-recent enhancement here is that each of these each of these tasks is now independently versioned. That's been there for a little while, again, depending on whether you're VSTS or on-premises TFS. But that little flag there tells me that there is a newer version of this particular task available. So I can go over here and have a look, and we're currently using 0 point something, and there's the version 1 there. So I can choose selectively when to take an update to the next major version of that particular step. We build our solution, and notice that it's put those MS Build arguments in for us, finally. Okay? For those people that have used or created these build pipelines before, how many times have you gone in and put in those MS Build arguments? Not many times. Okay, a couple of hands. Thanks, Martin. Martin, are you excited by that? Let's put it in automatically? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Having to put those things in, yeah, I'm easily entertained, or I'm really intolerant. I guess that's the other way of looking at it. Let's go with the entertained part. Our test assemblies here, of course, are going to go and automatically look for any particular unit tests that are available. I didn't have any in there. We'll publish our symbols, publish the artifact back up to the server. So it does that work for me, but it just creates that particular build definition. Now I can enhance it, improve it, modify it, anything I want. It just helped me get started more quickly and easily. If you move across and have a look at the release that it's done for us, you'll see that on this occasion, the release is very, very straightforward. I have but a single environment, and within that environment, my pipeline has just a single item in there. You'll see that I'm using the latest preview of the editor, which it's taken a little bit of getting used to, I've got to say. So I'm sure I'll make some interesting little clicks here. Again, it's that muscle memory that's used to going and doing this without the brain engaging. That doesn't work well these days. So I'm getting my artifacts from the build. Although I can go and modify that, I can choose to pull my artifacts in from various locations. I can say, I want to fetch these files, these additional things here, bring them all in so that we can release them. I've got one environment called production there. Okay, and we can go and have a look at the properties of that environment. I'm the current owner of that environment. I can specify some policies for it if I want to. I can go and choose the pre-approval person, or post-approvers. For me, I'll say I want to look at some pre-deployment conditions. So I want it to be triggered on the release, or is it going to be triggered manually? Is it going to be scheduled? In terms of the pre-deployment approvers, I've set it up for automatic, that is the default. I can say before we deploy, I want specific users. I'll go in here and say, we want me. Okay. And I can go and add other people in there, multiple people, if I wanted to do so. So for those, this is production, but if we were to go in and have a traditional dev, test, staging, prod, whatever stages or environments you've got, then those lower environments like dev, you'll probably just set them up for auto approve and move your way through them. As you get through to test, through to production, then of course you've now got release managers, configuration managers. There's always that great process there to get in your way. Okay, I think Damien Brady did a good talk on that. Was Damien's talk yesterday or today? Did you want to attend Damien's talk on some of the garbage in the pipeline? It was yesterday, was it? Okay. So, if I go in and have a closer look, you'll see here that I've got just a single step in order to be able to deploy this. Okay, it points to the particular subscription I want to use, the app service name. I can set up slots. I can set up to automatically swap slots, the things we've been able to do with Azure Web Applications for quite a while now. If I wanted to, I can go and say that I want to go and add some additional steps. And I'm not going to go through all those steps for you. They are logically grouped across the top there. But I can go and add quite a lot of flexibility depending on the applications. I can deploy databases as part of it as well, services. I can deploy on-premises. I can deploy up into the cloud. I mean, there's a lot of flexibility there. And if you need a step that's not available, that's where the marketplace comes in. So you'll see up here that I want to go and check out the marketplace. Okay, I'll say, sure, let's do that. Okay, I'm not sure if I asked the question already. Who's been to the marketplace to grab an extension? That's not too bad. So that's, if I had to guess, maybe let's just shy of a quarter of the audience. So in the marketplace, I'll select VSTS up the top here and start looking down. There are tools that will allow me to automatically stamp the assembly info, so I've got a consistent numbering on all of the assemblies created in my release or build. I can go and scroll down here. What's going to grab my eye today? SSIS, build and deploy, if they're the types of applications that you're working on. Kubernetes, if you're going to use Kubernetes for the container services. Octopus deploy, if your organization happens to use Octopus. I'd normally give that little plug there for Damien, but he's now joined Microsoft. Hockey app deploying IIS web applications to on-premises. And if I want to use any of these, I can simply select it. And then I can choose to install it into my VSTS account, or I can go and download it and install it into my on-premises TFS. Not every extension gives you both of those options, but I'd have to say the majority certainly do. Okay, if it is VSTS, you've got to be an appropriate account owner to go and install those extensions. If you're not, you can then put in a request to say, hey, I'd like to go and grab this extension, and hopefully your VSTS account managers will go in there and install those and approve them for you. Anecdotally, I'd say that 95% of them are probably free, and I'd expect to sort of see that continue. Others are going to be free, but you can offer donations, and I love that model. And of course, then you've also got the paid for ones. So the marketplace is great for plugging any little gaps or setting up some integration with other tools that your organization might use. Okay, so well worth having a look at. Okay, get rid of that one. All right. The next thing we want to have a look at is how we can go and monitor our applications. So setting up telemetry. How do we get to keep an eye on the application, making sure that it's running, that it's healthy? It's really quite an eye-opener for many of my sites, I've got to say, when you turn this on, and there are going to be errors there happening every day you didn't really know about. Well, for my sites, maybe not yours. So adding that telemetry is a really positive thing. You can monitor Azure websites. That's, of course, the one that I'm demonstrating for you here today. But you can also work with on-premises websites and a variety of others for us. Who's using Application Insights today for telemetry? Wow, that's awesome. That's about half. Other tools, other telemetry providers? No, just one. All right. So in terms of monitoring our applications, let's go and add Application Insights in here. So I'll go back over here. We'll go and select our web application. I'll say that I want to go and configure Application Insights. You'll see here they've made this experience much nicer. Application Insights has had an interesting journey. As someone that sort of develops courseware all the time, there was, I'll call it the first version of Application Insights and what it was, and then it sort of morphed, and so did my courseware, and then it sort of finally found out or figured out what it needed to be. And that's where we are today. So I think the experience with Application Insights is a lot better today. Okay, so if you've looked at it in the past, it is worth another close look. So you'll see here that I can simply go and say, get started for free. I can look at the details here, modify or change any of those that I want. I'll just simply say register the application. That's going to do most of the heavy lifting for me. Okay, should take more than a moment. You notice the SDK was already there, so the template includes most of the hooks and the things that we need to get started. Excellent. And I'll say finish there. And if you have a look, it's 80% complete. And then we'll choose whether or not you want to enable event trace collection or trace collection. And I'll say yes, we may as well throw that one in as well. Doesn't take a heck of a lot of extra time. And we're done. So setting up that telemetry by simply going through and using those wizards is absolutely fantastic. So I'll exit out of here. Okay, let's go and check those changes in. We'll commit them. Now, of course, the process of doing this, and in a moment, triggering that push, it's automatically then going to go and rebuild my application, redeploy it, and that telemetry will exist within the application. If we do have enough time, I might... Why did I not? Thank you. Yep, there they are. Thank you very much. Excellent. Yeah, it makes a whole lot of difference, doesn't it? Thank you. All right, that shouldn't take too long. Okay, so once that's been added, we can easily get access to application insights. It provides these little shortcuts for us. There'll be no data up there yet. I haven't actually run the application. It's still in the process of being built and deployed. But I can go and see the site. Again, no really interesting data there for us right now. Okay, but they will start showing something more useful. I can choose to go in and keep an eye on the application, so set up some availability monitors. I can say I want to create a simple test. In this particular case, we'll just use a ping test. Is app alive still? Websites. Did I leave an S off before? I wonder if that's what it was. Copy, we'll find out. I'm going to tell it to check every 10 minutes. I can choose the locations that I want to use. We'll leave just those US ones selected. I will throw Oz in because I can. We'll click on Create. That's going to go and create that availability monitor. So from those 6 locations I ended up choosing, it's going to sit there and just ping that application every 10 minutes. That'll give us interesting telemetry about the availability of it. We can set up alerts, be notified if the site's unavailable at any point in time. Okay. I'm a little bit curious because I would like to see that the application did get deployed after all of that. That's fascinating. And given the time we've got, we're not going to try and troubleshoot that, although that was kind of supposed to be one of the really interesting things about that wizard. And I'm sure I'll be looking at the video to find out what little click I may have not done correctly there. Okay. Might be very interesting for that availability monitor to not really say my site's available, but that's fine for today. So let's get back out of there. Okay. So adding that telemetry into the web application, again, a very, very easy thing that saves us a lot of effort. Finally, making this information available. So we've set up all of the orchestration for the application. We've got it setting up with a build and release pipeline that's not really releasing just at the moment. So how can we display this information so that stakeholders or team members can see exactly where we're up to? So we'll jump across. And the final thing I want to show you is I want to go and create a dashboard. So I'll go into my dashboards here. Leave that page, go away. I'll choose to create a new dashboard. This dashboard might just be called Release. And we'll grab anything to do with build and release for now. So I might say, let's throw this one up here. the build health overview, build usage. I want to keep a track of the build minutes that I'm consuming from my VSTS account, Azure account. Build history, let's keep an eye on that. And maybe one other. Deployment status, sure. Squeeze that one down there. We can go into the extension gallery. So if I click on the extension gallery, that's going to take me into the marketplace. I'd normally go in there and choose application insights and see that I can get some of that application insights information and also expose that through my dashboards in here. For now, I'll go in and just say that I want to configure these ones. So in terms of my build history, I'll go and choose the particular build definition. Okay, so I've had 2 builds and they both work. That's positive. Over here, let's see what's available to us. I'll select that build again. And last but not least, our deployment status. And of course, there's only one branch. That's what I needed to do there. Okay, I've got no tests, so that information won't be shown. I'll say OK. So right now we're seeing that the last 2 deployments to production were both successful. They're out there somewhere. They're out there somewhere. Sure. All right, so that'll be enough for the dashboards. There's plenty of things in VSTS that we haven't had time to look at just in the time that we've got available. I'll swing back over there. Some of those could include, there's so much more in work item tracking. Comparatively recent addition is package management. So looking at how we can use package management for both NuGet compatible feeds, NPM, and Maven at the moment. I think it's those 3. Private preview, thank you. So there's some other ones out there. We can go and some of the more recent releases, they've renamed some of the tasks. So setting up easy deployment, build and deployment of packages to share privately within the organization is much, much easier. Code search, who's started using code search? It's been available for a while in VSTS? No. Guys, code search is amazing, and given the proportion of you that are developers, absolutely have a look at code search. I've got I really haven't put any code up there, but if we go into code or even to the home page, the landing page, up here, it's a context-aware search. I can say I want to find hello world where it's used as a property, as a constructor, as a method, as a string literal. I can easily go up there and search across multiple projects, an entire repo. So for those of you using VSTS, that was a lot of you, have a look at it. And of course, with TFS 2017, you've got the ability of having code search on premises as well. Hint, make sure you have a peek at that one. Okay. For those of you that are using it, back me up here. Good?
Yes.
Thank you, Martin. All right, great. All right. And a bunch of other things there, but I am pretty much out of time, and standing between an audience and lunch is never a good idea. So hopefully we've seen how VSTS can really set up the environment for us. All of that scaffolding is available for us out of the box to hopefully get us to that awesome lifestyle a whole lot more quickly and easily. I'll be hanging around for a little while during lunch, so if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to take them. Enjoy the rest of your conference, and thanks.